So now we can talk about results filters. So for patients with lots of lab data, it can be very tedious to try and find what you're looking for. Because of the limitations of only wanting to show test patients and training versions of patients, I don't have the ability to really show you how well this can work. But take my word for it. Make some filters and try it out. You'll quickly become a believer. So the first thing that you need to do is make a default display format. So you can see that the default version of the results tab is no display format at all. So just take whatever you like, however you want to view it. Most people, that's trend and a descending order. So the most recent labs to be on the right. That's personal preference. Definitely the most common thing is descending. So you get them how you like them. Whatever's on the left side, you can then just click Save Display Format As. You can call this whatever you would like. You can call it default. I call mine all trend, so it's up at the top. But you can call it whatever you would like. So now we have a default display format. It's called all trend. It's the display view is trend. That's why it has that little that comment on the side. So now we can make some more. What you have to do for this is you have to go to Preferences, Results, Results Selection is this tab here. Click the plus sign, and then you need to call this whatever you would like. Then enter in the labs. You have to manually enter every lab that you want to be in this filter. And so that is definitely the caveat or the downside, is that if you make a filter and you rely on it, there's a chance you might miss a lab because your filter wasn't thorough enough. So just make sure that you add in everything that you would like to. Like for example, the hemate automated differential, I think you have to add in specifically bands and a couple other, I don't want CSF. So you have to add in specific things of that nature. And you'll learn that as you go and see what comes in and what doesn't come in. Just keep that in mind. So now there's my CBC that I just made. Click on it. And this lady doesn't have any CBCs. So like I said, I can't show you how great it can be. But what you would do is, now that everything's set up the way you want it, trend, descending order, CBC filter, you just click this and save. And you can call it whatever you would like. You can call it blood, or you can call it CBC, whatever you'd like. So now we've got all trend and CBC. The reset button always takes you back. So let's do one more. Results selection. Do chemistry. Comprehensive panel here. And I also want magnesium. If you ever have a question about which is which, I just add them both. It will either both go over, or it will tell you you've already added this one, and then you make sure you have them. Got a FOSS. And maybe like a direct Billy. You can always add to these. So you've made your chemistry filter. You select it on the left side, and then you save display format as. You can call it whatever you'd like. And now this is basically the only types of labs that this lady has anyway, so it doesn't change the view. Just to show my results result selection options. So for CMP, I have pretty much the same stuff that we just added. I have ionized calcium on there. Basic panel, show me the same stuff. It's pretty much the same. Some other examples of display formats that I use frequently. Blood gases, huge. Definitely like to have those because of the way that they come up in this trend format. It just is very hard to see the trends that you're wanting to work with, which is a misnomer. Cardiac biomarkers there. Cultures. So this is the one that if you spend the time to make it, it's a fantastic filter, because the nice thing about these display formats is they're not only filters, but they literally change the format of what you're looking at. So you can see these are all just trend. But if I want to view, let's do this. I'll go to Preferences, and I'll go to Results, Result Selection, add a new one, call this Cultures, type in culture here. I'm going to select every type of culture that they have, hit Add. I'll have to hit OK a bunch. That's no problem. It's just showing me the duplicates that I have. Now I want this to be report by order. This is what report by order looks like. It's not in a trend view. You want to make sure it's in the, you want the most recent things either at the bottom or at the top. This patient, the most recent things are at the top. That's descending. So that's good. And then I put on my culture filter. This patient doesn't have any cultures, but it would show all the cultures that they have if I could show you a real patient. I like to choose include pending because it will show you the cultures that have been drawn that have not yet been resulted, or the ones that have just been ordered but not yet resulted. So you'll see all that information right here on this screen. And you can then click Save. You can save this. And then, of course, you can easily flip back and forth between your trend view and your cultures report by order view. So it's really great. The downside is there are a lot of microbiologic tests that do not have culture in the name. And so to actually have a very thorough list, you have to spend a decent amount of time adding things to your culture filter. So this is just a forewarning. You can see there's a lot of stuff that has to go in there. A lot of things with the word fungal in them, a lot of things with the word viral, tons of stuff. And so I just add them as I go, basically. When I realize something's not in my culture filter, I add it. And at the end of the year, it's a lot better than it was at the beginning of the year. But just keep that in mind, that same caveat that I mentioned. One thing that I tried is to add, just go to micro and add every single test that's in micro. And I think that's a decent place to start. But you're going to have to delete things because it ended up pulling in all sorts of accessory tests as well. Like it pulled in hemoglobin levels and it pulled in calcium levels for certain tests. And I ended up, you would have to go through and figure out which ones were which that messed up your filter. And so I just don't know if that's worth it. So I think starting with cultures and then adding in the things that you notice are missing. I can briefly just pull mine up so that you can see it. I guess this is going to be videotaped so people can look if they wanted to know what all this stuff is. So of course you'd want to put C. diff in there. You'd want to put some viral studies like CMV and EBV and that kind of thing. So cultures can be great if you spend the time to do it. Some other great ones, drug monitoring, awesome one for all sorts of levels, zinc levels, tacro levels, amikacin and Tobra for the CFers. So what I did is I just went through every possible drug monitoring level and added them in. Here's the list. I'll scroll through it again. Again, I wish there was a way to import these things so that everybody could just take them from me, but unfortunately there's not. So I think it's worth your time. HIV hepatitis, another great one. So you can see all the hepatitis markers as well as any HIV labs. And I also have that one, that display format is report by order as well. So you can, there's things that won't even show up in the trend view, but if you do it as a report by order, you can see exactly what you're looking for. And if anybody has any questions about these things, you can track me down in person and I can show you in a real patient that we're taking care of together. So then it's a lot easier to see how everything works. So the other thing that I'll mention is on that concept of an effective way to view micro and POE, because a lot of people still use EPR for their micro data, and it's just a pain to pull up a different system. So you can go to Summary, and any one of these headings you can just double click on, and it will pull up report by order for all micro. Now the amazing thing would be if you could make a display format of that and save it, but you can't. So that's actually a pretty fast way to find what you're looking for, is just go to Summary, double click on micro, and you can see all the cultures that way too. So that's a nice thing. To the day that tests were done, this is all screwy because these results were generated in 2008, but this would be specific days, not specific months, and you could double click on those months, those days, and see the lab. So there's the example of the report by order. Okay, let's see what else we have from results. Endocrine, I really like this one a lot. So the things I have in endocrine, under results selection, so lipid profile, A1C, thyroid markers, vitamin D, have some court stem result stuff. So I'm sure there's more things that could go in there, but I use that all the time for baseline information on patients. And so what you can do is you go to endocrine and then click on all available charts received since 3 years ago or whatnot, and it will quickly pull up every A1C that we have in our system, every lipid panel, all that kind of thing. The unfortunate fact is that you cannot save a display format in results that will remember your time preferences like you can in documents. But every time you click on results, if you want to view past tests, you have to just click all available charts and then click 3 years ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever you want to see. Anytime you click the reset button, it will go back to your default, which will likely be just this chart. I think that the training module has more options, but that's just my experience.